where we talk about the stories that have us all talking.
And today we're joined by Jon Anne Willow from ThirdCoast Digest at thirdcoastdigest.com, and Jeff Wagner is back. So a 3-year-old deaf boy has been told by his Nebraska school district he needs to change the way he signs his name because the gesture resembles shooting a gun.
His name? Hunter. Should the school make an exception to its policy? It's his name.
I can't even talk about this. It's so ridiculous. You're telling a 3-year-old boy he can't technically say his name because signing his name is the way he says it.
And his name is straight up in the SEE language. That's exactly how it is symbolized. And I was having the same reaction that you were having, Courtney, and I was talking to a friend about it. And my friend actually had a really good point that the teachers are under so much pressure now to be so politically correct. And I absolutely think the school should make an exception to the policy because, like you said, that's his name. But on the other hand, it's tough because if he writes his name, then another child brings a toy gun to school. Is there a conflict? I don't really think so. I think common sense should prevail. But that is maybe one other way you could look at it.
I think this story symbolizes what has happened to our society.
Yeah.
Common sense does not exist anymore.
I have two gestures that make me think about this. I mean, the first one is just boom, you know, it's crazy. And the second one is for the people who thought this was a good idea at the school, they're losers. I mean, there's just nothing around it. This is, honest to goodness, harmless. This is like, you know, the kids that do the drawing of the stick figures and they get sent home to school. Political correctness run amok, plain and simple.
And this poor little sweet 3-year-old boy, he doesn't know what's going on.
No,
I mean, how do you
doesn't.
explain to him that you can't sign your name at school?
You can't. You can't explain that to
I
somebody.
mean, is doing this with your hand and pointing at somebody considered a threat?
That's
in a
not
school?
really what he does. He does something like, it's like a crossed finger thing. It's not like,
I think it's something like this. So.
This is okay.
Which I guess could be later considered a gang sign if we're going to stick with the path of political
the good thing
correctness.
is this story is out. The school just
Yeah.
is being lambasted on social media, and hopefully it'll get them to back up a little bit.
I don't think they acted in malice, though. I think they were probably in a pretty tough position. So I hope it's not too malicious towards them. I think that it was a big mistake and that common sense should prevail, but I think calling them losers is pretty strong.
No, not at all. This is the problem. No, Jon Anne, this is the problem with the American educational system. You have these people that do not have the common sense that God gave a goose and can't recognize that a 3-year-old kid who's signing his name is not, in fact, making threats. No, this is a problem. We could talk about stories like this every day. Sorry, I don't cut him any slack.
All right, coming up next, we're going to go up to Sheboygan, talk about a race up there that's encountering some hurdles. The issues that could keep by Jon Anne Willow from Third Coast Digest and Jeff Wagner from News Radio 620 WTMJ. Okay, a lot of issues surrounding a proposed half marathon up in Sheboygan. The company Rapid Running has planned on hosting a race up there in October. But the city says we haven't got any permit applications, there's no paperwork. There are concerns about how this company is going to compensate the city for its services. Meanwhile, the company is still taking registration money from runners. Should everyone just walk away from this thing, call it off?
I'm going to go with yes on that. I went and did a little looking into this company, and they have hosted a number of marathons and half marathons. They really do give money to charity. The website is super simple. It's like a do-it-yourself one. It's not a big company. It's probably a guy. It's not that he's not legit. I just think he's really disorganized in this case, and Sheboygan should definitely make him have his paperwork in order, or they should just cut it.
Well, you know, and I mean, I'd actually go a step further. I think the local DA and I think the State Department of Justice should be looking at this. They have been taking money for months and months, but they don't have any permit approvals. I mean, it's, you know, it seems to me pretty simple that before you start taking people's money on the promise that you're going to be doing something, you should at least have some guarantees that that thing is going to occur. Sheboygan has really bent over backwards to try to give this guy one chance after another. And I mean, I don't know if it's a scam. I don't know if he doesn't have his act together. But I mean, the real question is, if this doesn't come together, you know, all these people who've already sent in money, they're out. And again, I think authorities need to be looking at this.
Yeah, in a couple months we're going to see, you know, if the race doesn't happen, do these people get their money back?
And there are clauses in the rules and regulations of the race that if it's the city's fault, you don't get your monies back. Well,
Yeah, that's a weird. Yeah,
That
you know,
is strange.
I saw your report. That's a
strange
really
wording.
weird provision because, right, if for some reason it has to get canceled because the local community didn't let it go on, well, then you're right. They don't do refunds, which to me that's this red flag. Wait a second. I understand if there's an act of God or something, but you not sending in the paperwork so that the race can't go on, you get to keep the money? I don't think so.
It'll be
last
interesting
topic.
to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
All right, Paul Ryan's speech at the GOP convention last evening drew mixed reviews. Many GOP supporters were energized, while his critics pointed out a long list of what they believe to be falsehoods and inconsistencies. How will his address affect the race in the weeks to come?
I think this is one of the best convention speeches I have ever seen, Republican or Democrat. I mean, the truth is, though, people don't vote for the vice president. I mean, people vote for the president. I thought, as far as energizing the Republican Party, I thought it was really good. Here is the one thing I'm willing to predict on the air, mark the tape right now. For the first time since 1984, with Paul Ryan on the ticket, Republicans are going to win Wisconsin.
That'll be strange if that happens. I think that I think that people are still going to continue to focus on those falsehoods. I mean, even you know your favorite news station, the Fox News Network, is really criticizing him for being for the inconsistencies in his speech. And
well, the network isn't. There's one commentator that is.
Okay.
To me, the inconsistencies are more like ankle biting, because what I think happened is I think a lot of his opponents saw how good this guy was and what an impression he made. So now we got to try to bring him down. I don't think
Even
it's going to work.
Chris Wallace, though, was live on the floor after the speech last night, taking apart a couple of the claims that
like
Paul Ryan made.
$716 billion funneled out of Medicare to fund Obamacare,
No,
when it was
that-
actually exactly what was in his plan, and what it really is a plan to take money away from a private-public partnership that George Bush established. That
Not
was
with you on
exactly
that
what
one.
was in
Not
Ryan's
with-
plan.
No, we can argue that some other time. Not with you at all on that one. Obamacare is a raid on Medicare. I'll stand by that.
Oh, that's it. Let's use
that's
this as
too
a
bad.
breaking point. We're out of time. You guys could go for hours.
I could go
We'll be
all
right
day
back.
on this one.